Hi, good morning, and you're welcome to the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Carl. This show is proudly sponsored by our very good friends at Bet Power. If you want the best odds, the best games, the biggest payouts, all of that can be found very easily on Bet Power. So place a bet there and be amazed by the amazing rewards you can get while placing your bets on Bet Power. They are sponsors for today's episode of the show. It's been an exciting time, very exciting time in the AFCON, the chaos, the back and forth, the shockers and stunners, all of that happening. And there's a lot more left because there are group games to be played later today. So that's what we'll be doing. We'll be looking ahead to those group games. But we turn back the clock to yesterday's games as well. And of course, your thoughts and comments are welcome on this show. You can send us a message via the WhatsApp number on your screen, and we'd love to hear from you between now and the end of the show. It's an exciting time, and we appreciate the fact that you have taken time out to watch this very interesting program on CCTV. It's the AFCON Daily Show. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, I'll introduce my guests, and we start rolling. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. Shows proudly brought to us by Bet Power. Let me introduce my guests for today's show. Yahweh J. Minter of the Citi Sports Desk. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Nathan.
All right. And Edwin Kwakofi is here. Edwin, how are you doing?
Nathan, I'm good. Still recovering from the bonkers 48 hours in the AFCON.
It's been absolutely crazy, I'm telling you. You know, lots of people talk about the AFCON in a certain light. I think this tournament is reforming a lot of opinion about the AFCON.
Well, I've for the past, let me say, 6-8 years, I've always believed that the AFCON is the best international men's tournament outside the FIFA World Cup, and is the best continental championship in the world. And yeah, many didn't believe it, many had doubts, but now it's so clear that there's no doubt that the AFCON, take the FIFA World Cup out of the equation, the AFCON is the best international men's football tournament in the world, and definitely the best continental championship in the world, because you don't see this level of excitement from the Copa America. You don't see it in the Asian Cup. The Asian Cup is going on as we speak, but no one cares about it, let's be honest. And you look at the Euros, yes, they have a few surprise packages here and there, but they aren't as many and as sustained as the ones that we've seen in the AFCON over the past 3-4 editions. Okay. And so for me, yeah, the AFCON is the best international men's tournament, men's football tournament outside the FIFA World Cup.
Edwin, quickly, do you have any of your own thoughts?
I completely agree with Yao. I think aside from the actual football, which is really quality, high-level quality, I think the side stories, the side plots, all make it into like a really, really good tournament. From the coaches' statements, player celebrations, the goals that are scored, the controversies around. I mean, it might not be the best thing. The controversies around salaries, controversies around bonuses, the fans, how into the football they are, the way they chant in the stadium, everything like comes together to make it, as Yao said, the best international men's tournament outside the World Cup. And I'm glad we can live this period, watch a number of games, and, you know, just enjoy the football as it comes.
Yeah, and it can get better. It can get better if the logistics attached to the tournament gets improved, and the cost attached to it decreases or gets lowered. So, for instance, transportation, difficulty in accessing transportation means to the host nation, the cost involved. If those things can get worked at, honestly, the AFCON would undoubtedly, hands down, be the best tournament in the world outside the World Cup, because that would mean Ghanaian fans having an easy, cheaper access to, let's say, Uganda, where in the 2027 you have Uganda also co-hosting the AFCON. Yeah. And you have a lot of Nigerians being able to move from Nigeria to Uganda, easily accessible to Uganda.
That's a conversation for the people
and so,
in charge
it should be fun going forward.
All right. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure the Euros and other competitions will have their own stories to tell when they come around a little later. Let's start off with the main footballing issues. We start off with the Black Stars following their exit, quite shambolic, exit from the competition. Some people say on Monday, as they say on Tuesday, but whatever it is, the Black Stars are no longer part of the AFCON. They finished with 2 points. They've been kicked out. Following that, what a lot of people expected happened, really, and it happened late last night. Head coach Chris Hughton sacked, or as the FA put it, he had been relieved of his duties as Black Stars head coach with immediate effect. He and the technical team are all leaving because the technical team has been dissolved. The GFA says that in due time we'll hear what the plans are. But let's listen to what some fans have made of the decision to jettison Chris Hughton off the boat, throw him off the boat, and see if they can find somebody else to handle the national team as the World Cup qualifiers resume sometime in March.
The coach, the changes that the coach made it almost is wrong, because you cannot change a midfielder that will play football and bring a striker, because we have scored 2 goals. So we need to bring defenders. They will come and defend the game for us so that we will win. But as for Ghana itself, we need to change all the technical teams, all the technical people. Their performance is very bad, very bad.
The coach is also part, because I think the change that he made, bringing in the DIU, he didn't add any value to the second half. When he came, he didn't add any value.
All right, so some Black Stars fans expressing their displeasure with how Chris Hughton handled the team, especially in that game against Mozambique. Edwin, your thoughts? I don't think you are surprised, are you?
No, I'm not surprised.
Okay.
I said even before the tournament started that he wouldn't last beyond the AFCON. I didn't expect us to come home so early, so that you could say is a surprise to me. I'm very disappointed with his tenure, as we all are, not just in terms of the results, but in terms of how the Black Stars have played. We constantly talk about a philosophy, a style of play, and we've not got that under Chris Hughton with the Black Stars. Are we a counter-attacking team? I don't know. Are we a defensive team? I don't know. Are we a possession-based team? I don't know. It's a mishmash of all of them. Sometimes we don't play any of them and we just get beaten. If you are a manager or a head coach, you go into a team, you identify the players you want as quickly as possible, especially international managers, because tournaments are going to come and go really quickly. You are not going to have enough time with the players that you have at your disposal. Okay. So what you do is you identify a core of a team, ensure you have players that you know you can trust going forward, regardless of what happens, whether they make a few errors, whether they are unavailable for some games. You know that these players are going to make my team. What disappointed me about Chris Hughton was the constant changing, the constant addition of players that he knew he wasn't going to use. And there's been some talk that this decision or these decisions were not left to him. He had external influence. But you'd imagine a manager of Chris Hughton's repute, at least he's coached in the Premier League. He's been manager of the month in the Premier League. That is not no mean feat. So you'd hope that a manager of his reputation would be able to resist these external influences. Unfortunately for him, he couldn't. And we saw a clear manifestation of that external influence in the Mozambique game. I don't think the decision to bring Andre Ayew was his decision.
I see.
I don't think it was his decision. But ultimately, he made the choice to bring him in as the coach. So it falls on him. I think there was an external influence to bring Andre Ayew into the game.
That's what you suspect.
That is what I believe.
Believe?
That is
it's
what
not
I
even
believe.
a suspicion.
It's not a suspicion.
Okay.
Because of what was at stake personally for the player. Obviously, if the player gets a record or achieves a feat on the African continent, the acclaim also is shared with Ghana. So whoever made that decision wanted Andre Ayew to get to that feat, because they thought at that stage at halftime everything was in Ghana's favor. Cape Verde were ahead against Egypt. The Black Stars were ahead against Mozambique. It looked like the Black Stars were going to qualify to the next round. So there was almost no risk for them to bring Andre Ayew into the second half for him to break that record. But as a coach and as a well-respected coach across various continents, you'd expect better decision making. You expect some steel from Chris Hughton, and I don't think we got that throughout his tenure with the Black Stars. Even the results didn't help. It would help to swallow some of the performances from the Stars if they were winning constantly. But those wins were very few and far between, and usually against opposition that we should be thumping, not just beating, but thumping. His record, 13 matches, he won 4, he drew 5, lost 4 across all competitions. That looks bad when you take a look at it. But a few of those games in there were uncompetitive matches. We talk about the USA match, the Mexico match, obviously the Namibia friendly before the AFCON. When you take away those uncompetitive matches, it drops to the winning percentage rises. So the games drop to 9, wins remain at 4, and then you have a few draws and a couple of losses in there. So the results don't look bad on the face of it, but you take a look at the teams we faced, the teams we've lost to. There was Comoros in there. No one expected us to lose to Comoros. And then there's Cape Verde in there. You don't expect the Black Stars, with the quality of players they have in their squad, to lose to Cape Verde. So I think it's a whole, a lot of issues which have led to Chris Hughton's failure. A lot of them have to be blamed on him as well. You can't just relieve him of any blame because there was a lot of pressure from the GFA or whoever pressures him into making some decisions on pitch. As a manager, you take responsibility. He has taken responsibility for the performances of the Black Stars. And when you take responsibility for an exit, a group stage exit, there's no way you are staying in the job.
Interesting. Yeah, so what should be the way forward?
What should be the way forward? Discipline and honesty.
Okay.
Yeah, discipline and honesty in the way things are administered in football in Ghana. Because if you are disciplined, you'll be mindful of the way you interact with fans, you interact with journalists, people who are stakeholders, who bring a lot to the table when it comes to the Black Stars. So you don't lose a game. You don't have the Black Stars lose a game, and you deliver another round of media blackout. Meanwhile, Nigeria, for instance, their first game in the AFCON, they drew 1-1 with Equatorial Guinea. What did they do? They opened up their doors to the media. People interacted with the players, and the goodwill that they got from interacting with the players, they sent and carried it all over to Nigeria and died down the heat. And the players felt that low pressure. And in their second game, they beat the host nation. In their third game, they beat Guinea-Bissau and ended up topping the group and qualifying. And no, they finished second behind Equatorial Guinea. Yeah. And so when you handle things the right way, in a disciplined way, things turn out well. Because let's face facts, everything that the Black Stars have gone through, especially when it comes to the administrative standpoint, it has been haphazard. And you can't cheat your way past Mother Nature. I'll put God aside. You can't cheat your way past Mother Nature. Things structured well will end up well. But for us, things weren't done well. And so this is the end result. And the honesty bit, that's when I would come in and say, yes, we haven't been honest, especially the football administrators, the handlers of the Black Stars. They haven't been honest in the way they administer duties or responsibilities in connection to the Black Stars. Because if you were honest and you were disciplined, you won't sideline a guy like Jeffrey Schlupp. If you were honest and disciplined, you won't sideline a guy like, or you won't have issues with a youngster coming through the ranks like Abdul Momin. And this is a youngster. He hasn't gone through the ranks to experience all the politics involved in football administration at its peak. But already, after establishing himself in the Rayo Vallecano team, he gets 1 or 2 call-ups, and he already has issues with the team, with the national team, because of the people handling the Black Stars. Then clearly there's a problem over there. And those are the things that needs to be solved. For the coach sacking him, yeah, he's always going to be the fall guy. He's always going to be the first factor in the domino effect to fall. And so, no surprise there, because at the end of the day, when he was appointed, there were a lot of expectations, and he failed to deliver on those expectations. So, for instance, he was expected to be the guy, the one who has the reputation to take the tough decisions. So, for instance, take the tough decisions. How is it that still Andre Ayew is still part of this group? How is it that for a manager who loves to have direct wingers, how is it that he still has Jordan Ayew starting games for the Black Stars? You look at the substitutions. You look at the timing of the substitution. Clearly, there was no improvement from what Ghana went through under Otuado, under Chris Hughton. There was no improvement, because how do you play Ransford Koenigsdorfer as a creative midfielder when in 18 games this season, the guy has never, ever lined up as a creative midfielder?
Okay.
He's played 15 games in Bundesliga 2 for Hamburg and 3 games in the German Cup. All of them, he's played as either a right winger, on occasions as a left winger, and has even been sparingly used as a centre forward. So how then do you use a guy who hasn't even been an integral part of the team, who has been on the periphery? He played against Liberia in that friendly, 3-1 win over Liberia in that friendly. Then he started against Namibia. Then all of a sudden, boom, you thrust him into the starting lineup. If you can trust him with such responsibility, then how can't you trust a guy like Richmond Lamptey with such responsibility to play alongside Abdul Salih Samed? For a guy who plays for Kotoko, I mean, he's used to the pressure. He's used to this kind of pressure, especially in an African setting. So you make the decision not to even include him in the match day squad, knowing very well that Majid Ashimero, who has the same player profile as Richmond Lamptey, has an injury, has major injury issues. And Majid Ashimero goes off, and you are forced to play the much dreaded double six or double pivot that people just see it and they just can't stomach it. You should have seen the reaction of journalists at the stadium when Baba Idrisu was substituted, when Majid Ashimero went down with an injury, because they just knew that it was just bad. And the timing of his substitutions, awful. How do you bring in Osman Bukhari to replace Jordan Ayew in the 90th minute? For me, those things were awful. And lastly, there was no improvement in the sense of getting Ghana to better protect Leeds, or to protect Leeds better. Because you look at the World Cup under Otuado, we conceded, 7 goals? Yes, 3 against Portugal, 2 against Uruguay, and 2 against South Korea. So 7 goals. Those 7 goals were spread across 13 minutes. Those goals were spread across 13 minutes. And you look at our competition, or our campaign in the 2023 AFCON, we conceded 6 goals in 3 games. And 4 of those goals came in the last 15 minutes. So clearly there was no improvement in that department too. So the man who was brought in to solve those issues that we identified under Otuado, who was a bit green, he didn't do anything to improve those issues. So yeah, he deserves to be sacked, but he shouldn't be the only one to go. If the folks who are handling the Black Stars are there occupying those positions that are renewable, that can be negotiated, and there can be a sack or a dismissal, those guys need to go. And honestly, I believe that with honesty and discipline, yes, we can get things right. But Chris Hughton, no surprise, he's just a fall guy, as any and every coach would.
Well, all right, we'll see how it goes. The Black Stars will have to find a new head coach for the World Cup qualifiers, which will start sometime in March. But for those who love trends and patterns, here's something for you to chew on. Now, in the reign of Keto Kweku, between 2019 and now, Ghana is yet to win an AFCON game. Right? I mean, the last time Ghana won an AFCON game was in 2019.
Yes,
that was under normalization.
Yes.
2019 in Egypt. Ghana beat, was it Guinea-Bissau, I think? Was it Sao Tome? I'm trying to remember. They won 3-0. A game that had Jordan Ayew and Thomas Partey scoring.
Yeah, it should be Guinea-Bissau, because that first game, Ghana drew 2-2 with Benin.
And then drew goalless with Cameroon.
Yes, it should be Guinea-Bissau.
So for our viewers, something for you to chew on. Ghana's last AFCON win was in 2019. So Ghana has played 2 AFCON tournaments since then. 2 AFCON tournaments since then. 1 in Cameroon, 1 in Cote d'Ivoire, and the Black Stars are yet to win an AFCON game. An AFCON game. The last win, like I said, came in a group stage because the subsequent game was a 1-1 draw with Tunisia. That was resolved via a penalty shootout. So Ghana played 1 game after that, 3 games in 2021, 3 games in the 2023 edition, and the Black Stars have won none. If you go back to the start of the 2019 tournament, Ghana has won 1 AFCON game, 1 AFCON game, 1 in Egypt, none in Cameroon, none in Cote d'Ivoire. Guys, those are very worrying numbers.
Yeah. Maybe Ghana doesn't like playing on Francophone soil. Francophone country soil, more or less, because Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon, yeah.
Tunisia too. No, in Egypt.
Yeah,
sorry, in Egypt. So they won only 1 game. So maybe Ghana cannot play games anywhere else.
I mean,
but just finally, as we wrap up on this, so
dreadful.
It was quite obvious that Chris Hughton's output was poor. So his getting the sack, nothing wrong with that. It was quite expected. Now, what do we do to the people running the game? Because the GFA boss. He has the entire administration at his beck and call.
Nathan, you can't take them out.
Yes.
You can't take them out. So it's down to the individuals to be honest and disciplined in the way they handle affairs.
Should the government get closer to how football is run? Should the government be a bit more interested?
No. I think because of the nature of our politicians. Yes.
Okay.
So if they get too close, they become very meddling and easily trip up the red line FIFA draws when it comes to interaction between politics and
But FIFA
sports.
frowns on interference. For example, if the government removes the FA.
Yes,
but what about Edwin? What about the government says, okay, GFA, you want to run football? No problem. We just want to be more interested in what you are doing. Since at a point you come for money from us anyway when it comes to the national team.
Exactly. And I was listening to our colleague, Godfrey Akoto, earlier, and he made some really, really good points about how the government can dip a toe into how football is managed without crossing the red line, as Yao said. Selections into the All Africa Games, as he said, the government can say, oh, GFA, let's put these sorts of players, let's limit them to graduates from universities, limit them to graduates from schools, because there's a lot of talent that we are not targeting. I think we are focusing too much, which is fine, on the academy system. We are not focusing enough on the school system. I think we can learn a lot from the US basketball system, where they focus on talent developing right from high school all the way to the collegiate level and then to the professional level. We don't do that. And it's a bit worrying because we are letting proper talent, wonderful talent at the school level just disappear into nothing. These are players who can be encouraged because they've not been given an option. They've not been told that, oh, you can do sports and also learn and also take up a profession and also better yourself in other areas. It's not one or the other. That is what a lot of players have been told. You do one, you have to leave the other. If you want to be a professional, if you want to develop yourself intellectually, you can't do sports. And that is not right. This allows players who should be the ones that we go for, intelligent players who are willing to learn and then have the talent to compete. These are the sorts of players that any nation would die for. We haven't invested enough on that. And I think we could, the government could employ a quota system. Not like a stringent system, but a sort of a quota system to allow talent to be taken from these school levels and brought into the national teams under 17. We can ensure that we get a steady flow of good quality talent from there into the under 17s. And those same players should be allowed to progress into the under 20s if they are good enough. And I'm certain they are good enough players who can go from under 17 to under 20 and then to under 23 and make it into the national team. We can't allow this talent to go just because a few people with vested interest in some players or some teams wants those players or those teams to benefit from national team money and national team places. We can't allow that if we want to improve the system.
Just a quick one. How government can help improve football in the country? Well, for starters, especially when it comes to the Black Stars, limit the amount of money you give to them and police the expenditure.
You can't give 30,000 for a round of 16.
Yeah, you simply can't. You simply can't. It's absolutely bonkers. That should.
So then how much will you pay if they
made it to the semi-final? That's the point. You need to limit it, and because the Black Stars have been spoon-fed, they become virtually very complacent, and they become spoiled. Yes, that's what I can say. They become spoiled. The Black Stars have become spoiled. The administrators have become spoiled. And so they are sleeping on their job. They are sleeping on the job. Because at the end of the day, I use this anecdote all the time. The government is the parent. And the student or the child is the GFA tied to the Black Stars. And every year, you give the child money. You take him or her to the best schools, buy the best clothes, best sneakers, pay school fees on time, provide books, hire teachers, private teachers, provide extra teaching at home. And the child goes to school, and year in, term out, the results are poor. But when the child comes to you, mommy, daddy, I want this, you keep on providing it for the child. Do you think that the child will be motivated to snap out of his or her bad habits? No, he wouldn't. And so for me, if you want the GFA to sit up and improve on what they do when it comes to administering duties, in connection to the Black Stars, limit the amount of money you give them, or you police the expenditure. Make sure that everything that they do falls in line towards something. So, for instance, this Black Stars World Cup money, what prevented the government from tasking the GFA to put up a place of residence for the national teams to camp in, rather than having to spend money all the time camping them in or housing them in private hotels? Those are the things that government can do to ensure that the things that the Black Stars are connected to improve. We've seen that with Mauritania.
Yeah,
we've seen that with Mauritania.
10 years ago, Mauritania couldn't even. They got punished for being unable to get a team together to play a qualifier. 10 years on,
they're beating Algeria. So, and it was down to a collaboration between the government and the FA.
So meaning that the government and the FA can always have a good working relationship.
Work together. But at the end of the day, it all boils down to the traits. And the traits that you can never, ever, ever go past, and we absolutely need in our system, are two: honesty and discipline.
All right. We'll see how things play out. Before we go on a break, though, just a few things for us to chew on. Now, ever since Ghana started taking part in the World Cup, every appearance has come with money, right? We've had payouts from FIFA, and I can say that we've made
at least 15 million.
More than.
At least.
That's fine, but
15 is small.
Let's consider taxes.
Made about 50.
Let's consider taxes.
That Ghana has earned about 50 million. Let's say about between 40 and 50 million dollars from playing in the World Cup. What's there to show for it? Nothing. Now, recently, someone like Kujetua Blacko, a member of Parliament, he said per the records that the House had received, Ghana had spent about 27.9 million cedis on the Black Stars, dating back a few years. So we are talking Chris Hughton's salary, player salaries, bonuses, CK Akuno, Melo Van Rahiva. Yes. So we are talking from about 2018, 2019, thereabouts.
Yeah, and I remember very well that the former sports minister,
so I'm told this from 2021 till now. We spent almost 30 million cedis on the Black Stars with absolutely nothing.
Yeah. And I remember back in like 2017, the former sports minister, Nilante van der Poel, he made a statement, and it was captured in some of the portals as far back as 2016, before there was a change in government. And he said the government spends about at least 1 million cedis on the Black Stars per every call-up that they make. 1 million. 1 million. Equate it into dollars. And just think about the number of games we play for qualifiers. home and away,
Yeah.
for international friendly games, all of those things. Look at the amount of money that you spend. You cannot be spending that amount of money on the Black Stars. Leave it to the GFA. Let them police their expenditure.
You know.
Then they will get things right.
Well, like I said, we'll see. But we need to get serious. Black Stars get all the money. Women's football gets nothing. Black Queens are owed qualifying money from some time back. The Black Princesses have not been paid bonuses. Coaches of under 15 and under 20 and under 17, have not been paid either. Meanwhile, we want to spend all the money on Black Stars. We want to pay the players $30,000 for qualifying to the round of 16 of an AFCON. I don't know any country in Africa that will pay its team $30,000 each for qualifying and $400
for every supporter.
Look, this is the AFCON Daily Show. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to talk about the more serious countries, the countries who are excelling in the AFCON, and see what they are doing in Cote d'Ivoire. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Citi TV, my name is Nathan Kwashu, proudly brought to us by Bet Power, giving you the best odds, the best winnings, and great time as you place your bets on all kinds of sports, including the AFCON 2023 competition, which is happening in Cote d'Ivoire. All right, let's get on to, like I promised, some on the pitch action. And it was match day 3 time in some of the groups yesterday. Remember that we are getting to the end of the group stage. So yesterday, 2 groups were in action. One set of games got played at 5 p.m. The other set of games got played at 8 p.m. Let's start off with Senegal's group. Let's get that game between Guinea and Senegal. Senegal had already qualified to the next stage. They were hoping to end the group stage on a positive run. They took on Guinea, who themselves were hoping to book a ticket to the round of 16. Let's see the highlights between Guinea and Senegal. All right, Senegal winning by 2-0. They finished perfect, 3 wins out of 3, 9 points. And for the first time in their history, they've won all their opening games in an AFCON. So you see, even for a country like Senegal, they are now getting into their own. They are now getting to understand what it means to sit on top of African football. Yeah, your thoughts on this? Senegal beating Guinea by 2-0. Yeah,
well, straightforward expected win. Straightforward expectation for Senegal. They got out there. They did the job. They weren't too impressive, which is normal because we watched the game. Very physical. A lot of bust-ups between players. You understand the rivalry: Guinea, Gambia, Senegal, and so no surprise with the results. The only shock was Sadio Mane not scoring that chance or converting that chance. Yeah, but at the end of the day, Senegal, they look very impressive, and yeah, they are living up to the hype of being pre-tournament favorites. And yeah, I honestly believe there's another gear they can work their way to. There's another gear they can work their way to, and I love the fact that they haven't been overawed by the occasion, and they are dealing with the pressure of being favorites and being defending champions too very well. And that's the biggest takeaway I have about this Senegal team from the group stages. They've dealt with it very well. Morocco, not so well. But yeah, for Senegal, I've been impressed with how they've handled duties. And yeah, they didn't play too well against Guinea. But at the end of the day, they got the job done, delivered a professional job, and managed to qualify on top of the group.
All right, Edwin is on the touchpad. Edwin, you were watching that game. What are the things you want to highlight for us as we digest Senegal's very perfect group stage run?
So, Nathan, just one thing. Before the start of the tournament, we were wondering how African players who had moved from the top leagues in Europe to Saudi Arabia would cope, and whether it will result in them losing a little bit of their step, result in them losing their drive. One player I'd like to highlight on my board is Sadio Mane.
Yeah.
Sadio Mane right here. This is Sadio Mane running through on goal.
Okay.
So I'd like to point out the space over here. Sorry. Go here. So the space between these two defenders.
Okay.
And the ball has been played through to Sadio Mane.
Okay.
Any other forward would probably give up, knowing that they are probably second favorites to win this ball.
Okay.
However, Mane runs through and manages to pick up the ball before the defenders.
Okay.
That shows me this is a player who is committed to his team. He's not lost a step. Well, you might say he has because he eventually misses the chance. But miss aside, the work rate of Sadio Mane hasn't changed. I saw the same Sadio Mane in the previous tournament when Senegal won it. He keeps this running, winning balls off players. You would think that a player who's won it all, basically, doesn't have anything to compete for. But there's a drive in Sadio Mane to lead the youngsters, to lead his teammates to win another AFCON. And it's really good to see. We don't see that from a lot of players, like Riyad Mahrez at Algeria. We didn't see this determination from him. And it's good to see Sadio Mane retain this. This is another move which highlights the importance of Sadio Mane to Senegal. He is a player who attracts attention. There's a fear factor around him. So defenders are naturally tempted to go after him, leaving other players to take advantage. So right here, you look at this move. How many? There are several players around him. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 Ghanaian defenders around him, all focused on him because they know what he can do. They know his threats, which leaves a lot of space. This leaves a lot of space right here for players to take advantage of, for his teammates to take advantage of. So he makes the pass over in this direction, and there's space for his teammates to go on and score. So if we take a look at this right here, there's so much space, and now it's all up to his finishing ability, and he is up to task. A wonderful play, all started from Sadio Mane on the left, picking up the ball and drawing defenders to him, allowing his teammates space to operate and teammates space to go on and score.
Interesting stuff there. Sadio Mane doing the very best for his country. Didn't score that open chance. Edwin, just quickly on that, was there anything Mane could have done to score? It was just one of those things where, you know, there's not a lot you can do.
I think he should have scored because that chance, after rounding up the goalkeeper, he had a lot of time and space. And the angle wasn't that acute.
So this
look. So the angle isn't acute. The post is right there. Your vision isn't blocked. You have enough time. The goalkeeper isn't catching you. And he's right-footed. He's right-footed. So it's not like he's left-footed who is attempting to kick the ball with his right foot or weaker foot. So he should have scored. There's no...
I completely agree with you. This is a position you'd expect Sadio Mane to score in. It's on a stronger foot. He's running onto the ball. It's at a very good angle for him to score from. The goalkeeper is not a factor at all. It's one of those things that happens to to the best players, where you get into a position, you are expected to do something, and it doesn't quite work out for you.
Interesting stuff. If you ask me, I think, as he beats the goalkeeper, I think the ball travels slightly too far for an... Now, look, you notice that I think that, for example, assuming he had the ball under control and it was closer to him, so if at this point Sadio Mane were like 3 paces forward, you understand? As of the time he beats the goalkeeper, so assuming he meets the goalkeeper and just touches the ball slightly.
He has a look at the goal.
He does.
He has a look at the goal.
I completely agree. I'm just saying that I think he puts himself in a slightly difficult angle. The ball is a little away, and I think he kind of takes 1, 2 steps to adjust quickly and take the shot. But there's that, and I also think he chose the wrong technique.
Yeah, chose the wrong technique. But there's even a chance for him to control the ball.
Yes.
He could decide to control the ball as the goalkeeper moves, and then he has an even clearer shot.
Maybe in his mind he was thinking that the goalkeeper was closing.
Yeah, was closing down on him. I think it's down to the technique. I think the time he slowed down, he looked at the post, and by the time he got to the ball, I think he used the outside.
That's what Edwin was saying.
The outside of his step of his foot.
What he should have done. You beat the goalkeeper. Yeah. 1 touch to control. So control it to bring it back
to drag.
Right, to set it up properly. Because at that point, you are still in control of the situation. Yeah. The goalkeeper is running backwards. any good shot, and it hits him and probably goes in anyway. So anyway.
A couple of other options too. He could have tried to find either of his teammates.
But I think that setup would have been possible if he had
controlled it.
So he controls it.
He
can see everything. He has more time to see everything.
If he had controlled it, yes, that option would have been viable.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sadio Mane proving his worth there in terms of Senegal. So he didn't score, but great play he's put up for the Senegalese. It took him a while to get going, but in that second game, he woke up and he gave the Senegalese the platform on which they built their perfect group stage run. Let's get into the other game. And this was the start of the chaos from yesterday's game. It was a game involving the Gambia and Cameroon. Now, this game was of a lot of interest to Ghanaians because, based on the mathematics, Ghana needed two things to happen to stay in the competition. One was a draw between Gambia and Cameroon. And the second one, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, a Zambian loss.
Zambia was also involved in the mix.
A Zambia loss to Morocco. So even though Zambia were to play today, Ghana needed one part of the equation to work.
Yes, and that's why Ghana wasn't officially eliminated from the tournament up until
this one,
the Cameroon game.
Good. So for our viewers, the mathematics was a very simple piece of mathematics, though complicated. Ghana needed two things to happen at the same time. One, Cameroon drawing with Gambia, and two, Zambia losing to Morocco. Those were the two things. If any one didn't happen, the Black Stars were out. So assuming Cameroon drew yesterday and today Zambia beats Morocco, Ghana would be out. But anyway, let's enjoy the highlights between the Gambia and Cameroon. Exciting game in the AFCON. Wow, just sheer chaos in that game. Gambia 2, Cameroon 3. Really, that's how you play a third group game, at an AFCON, where you need to win to stay alive in the competition. And the Cameroonians gave everything they could. Shout out to the Gambia. They played really well. But I always say that if there's one country in Africa that knows how to find the performance when they need to find it, it's Cameroon.
Yeah.
It is Cameroon.
It is Cameroon. And they did it against Ghana in the 2008 AFCON. They did it in the 2017 final, the AFCON final. When all hope looked dead and lost, they did it against Algeria to qualify to the 2002 FIFA World Cup. Because remember, the first leg at home in Yaoundé, I think they lost. And in the second leg, they ended up beating Algeria to qualify. And so for Cameroon, yesterday it looked a bit too desperate. And they really, really rode their luck because Gambia had very, very good opportunities to score goals against them. And, they fluffed their lines a little bit. And, at the end of the day, you always want to give it a good shot. If you don't give it a good shot, you stand no chance of getting that all-important win and qualifying to the next round. But at the end of the day, Rigobert Song and his boys, they came through. And, I think with Gambia, I think that equalizer, the second equalizer from Cameroon, I think that's what broke them. The own goal. To go up ahead 2-1 and concede after 2 minutes? That for me is what that was for me the downside of the game they played, that they couldn't hold on to that lead. The way Cameroon was desperate, had they held on to the lead for even 6 minutes, honestly, they would have ended up winning this game and progressing to the next round of the competition. But it is sad that they ended up crashing out of the competition because they really gave it a good fight. And I understand why a lot of people are pushing for their coach to be the next head coach of the Black Stars. I would go in for, I would also push in a new name. I would go in for Mozambique's head coach, Tukenyo Konde.
Okay.
For a guy to have that collection of players and to constantly have that mindset to attack, play out from the back, be so good when it comes to their offensive play, attacking play, get their fullbacks heavily involved in everything that they do offensively. I've been impressed.
Okay.
Looking at the collection of players that they have, their quality do not match the Black Stars in any way. But I absolutely love what they put on show in the AFCON. So I'll throw his name in the ring.
I mean, for our viewers, I'm sure people would want to have that conversation about who should be the next Black Stars head coach. I'm sure that will come up a little later. But let's focus on this one. Edwin, on the touch part, I'm sure you had a few things to pick out of that game. That was a really, really interesting game to watch.
Nathan, it was an exciting game, and I couldn't keep my eyes off it. But one thing in particular stood out to me for both sides, and that was their defending from aerial situations where crosses are put into the box, how they defended it, especially on the back post. What I'd like to point out is, in particular, is the defending from set pieces for both sides. This is Gambia in possession of the ball from a corner. The ball is put into the box, and I'd like to stop play here. Over here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 Cameroonian players inside the box.
Okay.
To 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 Gambian players who are attacking. And yet, somehow, a couple of Gambian players are left free. There's this one who is abandoned by the player who was supposed to be marking him. And then, of course, there's our player here who is completely free, perhaps because this defender fell to the ground. For whatever reason, he decided to fall to the ground. A few things I would like to point out here. Let's focus on this defender right here. I like it when teams put players on the line, where they put, I even prefer them to put on either post. But when you are giving that duty, you are not supposed to hug the post. You are not supposed to be on the outside of the post or right in front of the post. You are supposed to be on the inside, where you can make a movement to the side to stop any ball from going into the box. Our player here, he just sticks to his post and doesn't move. So that's one problem here. And then this second defender, who is supposed to be marking our guy here, at the start, he stood close to him, and then he just moved away, allowed him to have a clear run and go. You don't do that as a defender. No matter how many players are charging in on your goal, you stick to your man as much as possible. If any mistake occurs, it's because of him. It's not because of your other teammates failing to cover. So we'll take a look at the sequence and see how those players move. First player, he doesn't even make a move. He doesn't even make a move. And this player is allowed time and space to just head into the back of the net. That is woeful defending on the back post from Cameroon.
Well, on that one, Ondoa saved it.
Ondoa saved it. But that's woeful defending.
Yes.
I'm just highlighting the set-piece errors from our teams. Now, Cameroon have their own corner kick. Christopher Wu is allowed a clear run on goal. There's this thing that a lot of defending teams do, where they put men on a few players in the box, but allow the opposition 2 players on the outside, allow them, for whatever reason, a chance to run in on goal behind the players who have been marked.
Now, based on this, if you listen to people talk about set-piece defending, there's always the question, what do you mark?
Do you go
zone or man?
Yes.
I go man. I prefer man, because
I think the consequence of Christopher Wu's header is that the Gambians went on zone.
Yeah,
I could be wrong, but Edwin.
Look, a few teams try and mix.
I think this is a mixture.
This is a mixture.
This is a mixture. They do man.
So
if you can, you can see everybody has a man here.
Yeah, they have a few players who are near the 6-yard box marked. However, there were 2 players out on the outside of that zone, including Christopher Wu, who were allowed runs into the box. And these are 2 of Cameroon's best headers of the ball. So you don't leave them unmarked for whatever reason. Wu was able to get into, let me highlight him right here so that everyone knows who I'm talking about. He was able to get into a good position to head the ball. And when you have a tall player running and getting a running jump, it's going to be difficult to defend against that, no matter who you are. And there was no one going to stop him. All he had to do was get that header on target, and Cameroon have an
no defender.
And I'm happy you mentioned
at the post.
The running start, because that allows him to generate power because he's running.
Exactly.
Then he takes off. that's enough momentum. And once he
Just
gets his head to that ball, it's going. Kind of reminds me of Sergio Ramos in that Champions League
against
final with Atletico Madrid.
Madrid.
Cross comes in, he runs, attacks it, bang, touches
And
it.
that's why for me, the previous video, the previous video you showed, Chitam, his performance or his role in that save, Ondua save, it was so terrible because he saw the ball, he moved away from his man, he was attacking the ball, and he completely mistimed his jump, and he missed the ball completely.
Yes.
Look, he's focused on the ball. He's focused on the ball, not the man. And he has a running start, and he can clearly see the trajectory of the ball.
Yeah.
He goes in, he attacks it, and he misses it. For me, that's poor defending. Very, very poor defending.
So the Gambia did not take advantage of this opportunity. They concede from one set piece, and then they have their own set piece to deal with, which we'll come to. And this was when the game was 3-2 to Cameroon, by the way.
Yes.
Okay, so on to our next clip where we'll see the Gambia's corner kick. And I'd like us to take a look at this. I know we've seen it to death, but it's still an interesting clip to watch. The ball is put to the near post, a run which was not tracked, and the header goes in. Over here, we think that it's a goal, and it's given us a goal initially. But obviously, this is why VAR is important. Without VAR, that would have been given us a goal, and it ends 3-3. Cameroon are out of the AFCON. With VAR,
the Black Stars stay alive for another 24 hours.
I think that's the bigger reason why we need VAR. We needed VAR. We needed them out of the competition. So as we can see here, there's no hiding from this.
And even the trajectory of the ball.
Exactly.
It changed. The trajectory of the ball changed. Yeah. Once it brushed off his hand, the trajectory of the ball changed. And that's what got it past Ondua.
I don't agree with the term brushed. I think he punched it. He tried to punch it into the back of the net.
Okay, flicked it.
He flicked it into the back of the net. Because it was very deliberate from him. Pushed out his hand and pushed it into the back of the net. And he takes off celebrating.
The way he celebrated, that was the funny bit.
He takes off celebrating. And that's our player here for you.
It amazes me.
That's the guiltiest face
in this day and age of
VAR.
I mean, like he thought that you could get away with it.
Anyway, just final question on that. He got booked.
Yes, he did.
Rightly so.
I mean, if that's why not a red card? It's deliberate handball, isn't it?
It's deliberate handball, but look, in the context of the game, the referee decided not to give him a yellow card because, fine, he did punch it into the back of the net, but as it was seen by VAR, there was no need to escalate the punishments to a red card.
Especially considering what was at stake.
Exactly, what was at stake.
And I always go back to that 2010 World Cup final. That Nigel de Jong Kung Fu kick on Xabi Alonso. And that was a red card.
That was a red card.
But Howard, he couldn't give a red card at that time of the game. There was no way he could have given a red card. Yeah. He dishes out the red card. Game is messed up completely.
Yeah, sometimes referees need to take these things into consideration.
Oh, they do.
Discretion,
context is very important. It's very, very important.
All right. I don't know if you have any.
Yeah, so I think that's done. We've highlighted the set piece issues for both sides.
All right, interesting. So the set piece playing a key role in that game. Gambia to Cameroon. Cameroon have made it, and their prize is a date against Nigeria. Interesting. A date with Nigeria on Saturday in the AFCON 2023 round of 16. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, we have a lot more to analyze as the third group games of some groups from yesterday took place in the AFCON. This is the AFCON Daily Show. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Kwaya, Jamie and Edwin Kwakofi are my wingmen for today. You can send in your comments via WhatsApp, and the WhatsApp number is on your screen. You can send those comments in, and we'll go through them as much as we can before the end of the program. Let's move on to some other games from yesterday. And by the way, show is probably brought to us by Bet Power. Bet Power giving you the best odds, the biggest payouts, the biggest winnings. If you are a punter and you want to win big in this season, you need to place your bets at Bet Power. They are the ones sponsoring the show. We thank them so much for hopping on board. Let's get to Algeria. In 2019, they were AFCON winners, but they've been struggling to do well in their competition. They are also yet to win an AFCON match in two competitions. They haven't won, or they did not win a game in the 2021 edition. They did not win a game in the 2023 edition. Yesterday, they took on Mauritania. Mauritania, 10 years on after being unable or not being able to put together a team for the AFCON qualifiers. 10 years on, they achieved their biggest win on the African continent. They beat the mighty Algeria by 1-0. Let's enjoy the highlights. Wow, Mauritania won, Algeria 0. Algeria exit the AFCON at the group stage again. Yeah, it's wow. It's stunning.
Yes.
After winning the 2019 competition, the Algerians are yet to win an AFCON game.
Yes. And they finished bottom of their groups twice in a row, in 2 AFCON editions in a row. And that's where there's a difference between Ghana and Algeria, that both heavyweights have been eliminated from the group stage of the AFCON twice in a row. But with Algeria, it's not more of disappointment. It's more of wow, like you said. And it's because they do things right, but we don't do things the right way. And for them, I think it's just like, again, an anecdote. You can go to the best schools. Everything will be done for you. You can get the best grades. You can do everything right. But you can do everything right by the book and still end up unsuccessful in life. It happens. Life isn't linear. And that's what is happening to Algeria. That spark is just gone away from them, and they just can't seem to get it right. Because look at the chances that they had. It was clear that they had more than enough chances to win this game, and more than enough chances to win the previous games. And for some strange reason, the ball refused to go into the net, and it's just as if the football gods, maybe they had sinned against the football gods, and the football gods were punishing them. And for me, yeah, it's one of those things where it happens. And for Algeria, I think they are on the right track. They do things the right way. It's just that it just didn't happen for them. It just didn't happen. It just didn't happen for them. It just didn't happen for them. It's just the same thing that Germany is going through right now. Where back-to-back competition, they just can't seem to get it right. It's just not happening for them.
I see.
Yes, for them, the coach, he will have to go. Because he tried everything.
I think he announced his resignation to the team yesterday. But the thing is that when you listen to the conversations in Algeria, a lot of people believe that Belmadi's time, like he's outlived his welcome, because people feel that after 2021 they should have moved on from him, and they accuse him of being too loyal to certain players.
And sometimes he's a bit too how do I put it? I think sometimes he's a bit too outward with his emotions. I remember that bust up between him and Said Ben Rama on the sidelines of a game. It reminded me of Mido and the former
Hassan
Shiata. I think he tried to deploy the same tactics, but I think sometimes he took it a little bit too far. Sometimes all the players need is a warm embrace, just an arm around the shoulder. That's what they need, especially for a guy like Said Ben Rama, who isn't too consistent. Sometimes he can be utterly brilliant. Sometimes he can be utterly frustrating to watch. And so you need to know how to balance it. And for me, I think that's where Belmadi lost it a little bit. He seemed to be a little bit out of touch. Sometimes his emotions were all over the place and a little bit out of control. I honestly believe that should they move he's resigned. So they move on from him and bring in someone who's a bit calm in the way he wants his team to play, dishing out the rules and responsibilities. I think they should be fine.
Edwin, what did you pick up from the Algerian performance? It's one that's left, I'm sure the Algerians unhappy. I've seen videos of Algerian fans trying to enter the team hotel and say a few things to the coach and players. So what did you pick up from their performance in that game against Mauritania?
Look, one problem has worried Algeria from the first 2 games, which was chance creation. In this game, it wasn't much of a factor, but the problem was they limited themselves to taking low percentage shots. And let's take a look at the first one. This is Unas for Algeria on this side of the pitch. So he has the ball on the right-hand side. He's left-footed. What would you expect him to do in that situation? As a winger, you look at the back post, and this is where you should put the ball. This is the area in which you should be putting the ball. You have 3 players on the back post, all of whom can get onto the end of it. So as a winger, you should be flying the ball into the area, into a position where they can attack it. What he does is he takes the shot from such a wide angle. Obviously, the goalkeeper saves, but you have 3 players, all of whom are on the back post and are unmarked, including Boneja, who is very strong in the air. And then you have Awa, who is also making a run into the box. You should be putting the ball into the back post and allowing them to attack it. And they were rightly upset with the decision he took to take the shot. And it was a feature throughout the game, making really poor decisions where they should have got into positions where they can take high percentage shots. So our next clip over here, let's take you back quite a little bit. Our next clip, over here, you have another chance here. What he should be doing, he has a player running on his outside. That's Unas, by the way. You have a player running on your outside. What you do is you reverse the ball into him. This is what you do. You reverse the ball into him. Instead of taking it back into traffic, what he decides to do is take it where there are lots of players. He has to take a few more touches, and then it ends up here. Another low percentage shot is taken. Instead of,
But Edward, just a quick one. With Una's initial decision, I think he took the right decision by using the runner as a decoy.
Yeah, but that decision is countered by the fact that
he turns into a lot of traffic, a lot of defenders in
look,
his way.
if for example, the player makes the run,
Yeah.
right? It's say a 2-on-1, right? Or even a 2-on-2. The player behind you makes the run.
Yeah.
Then, because you need him to distract one defender, then you can have a clear attempt at bending it. But here, his teammate takes the defender away, but he now dribbles back into
an area
traffic.
I think it was down to Mauritania being able to get met quickly to close down that space that he would normally have had.
Brilliant. So that's why getting the ball on the outside.
That's fine.
But
if you reverse this ball, he reverses this ball into this position. Unas is able to put the ball across for Baghdad Boneja to attack and maybe get on the end of it. That creates a high percentage shot for you. Over here, you take it into a position where Mauritania are able to put a lot of players behind the ball, and you have a shot from way out here. Chances of him scoring from that range, obviously it was a close shot, but chances of you scoring are very low from that range.
That shot XG will be like what? Probably 0.3 or 4.
And then the final clip I'm going to show you. Poor decision making yet again from Algeria. They could have got a goal from this range. The ball is put across, a long ball. The goalkeeper comes to meet it. Obviously, he takes charge of it. Boneja wins it here. He can't take a shot from here. So what does he do? He finds Belaili on the outside. Belaili takes the ball. Boneja continues with his run. The goalkeeper is right in front of him. In this position, what you do is there's no way you take a shot from there. Low percentage shots. You pass the ball into Boneja, who has a better shot at goal. And then he maybe scores, maybe he doesn't. But at least you gave him the best opportunity.
Yes, of course. Boneja will take a higher percentage
percentage shots. And that's the thing that's been worrying Algeria all competition. Low percentage efforts, low percentage shots. Players making wrong decisions, and Belmadi being upset constantly throughout the tournament. Obviously, he's lost his job because of it. But his players need to take better care of the ball, means to make better decisions. And I think it's lessons they can learn for the next few tournaments that they go.
And I think that's the difference between Algeria and a team like Senegal. Because, for instance, that first goal Senegal scored. Sadio Mane had a chance to just bend the ball from the edge of the box into the net. But he decided to just deliver that square pass for his teammate who was running into the box to have a very clean look at goal and a very clean hit at the ball. And so, that was the difference. Because from that edge of the box, your chances of scoring are on the low side. But once you square centrally into the penalty box, the chances of scoring are high. So, I think that's the main difference between Algeria and Senegal in this tournament.
Well, poor decisions affect Algeria on the day, and then they lose that game by a goal to Mauritania. are in their first ever AFCON round of 16, and they've won their first ever AFCON game. Amazing times for Mauritanian football. Meanwhile, a time to ponder and chew on the things that could have been for Algeria. Let's move on to the other games. And there was a very interesting one between Angola and Burkina Faso. That group wasn't too clear as to what was going on. Of course, one half of that group was the Algeria-Mauritania game. But let's see the highlights from Angola as they took on Burkina Faso. All right, so that was that game involving Angola and Burkina Faso. Angola winning by 2-0. And guys, they topped the group. I think they topped it on 7 points.
Yeah,
7 points.
Burkina, 4 points.
Burkina 4 points.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting game because these two sides seem to have done enough in their previous two games to basically secure a position in the round of 16. A win and a draw from their first two games, you have 4 points. And with the other two teams facing each other, there was no way they were not going to make it. So this was more of playing for the right to top the table. And they still put a lot of effort into it. I enjoyed watching all them exchanging attacks, them trying to find a way past each other. I thought that Angola did very well to control the tempo of that first half. Eventually, they found a goal, and this is one thing I have admired about the Angolan team, the variety in which the goals come. There's the individual brilliance. They can pass you through the middle of the park. Their wide players are very effective, and also set pieces. And we saw an example of that. A wonderful delivery from Freddie, but it was the header from Mabululu that impressed me the most. Any other striker might have just directed that straight into in the direction of the net. What he did was he headed it down, so it bounced up and over the dive of the goalkeeper. And these are the most difficult shots to face, the ones that bounce in front of the goalkeeper. And if you take a look at the highlights, there were a constant stream of shots that would bounce right in front of the goalkeeper and give them trouble. Mavlulu himself tried one that the goalkeeper saved, but the second effort that was tried in a similar fashion caused the Burkinabe goalkeeper, Kofi, a lot of problems. He failed to gather, and the rebound was put in the back of the net. I think both sides have done really well so far in this tournament. They probably dark horses so far. Yeah. I think any team that gets them in the next round will be a little wary. They are not the biggest names, but the football they've played so far in the tournament has been very impressive. They can turn on a dime and catch you off guard, as Angola did to Algeria in their first game, and as Burkina Faso also did to Angola. So you can't underestimate these teams or go into games and be complacent, because they might very well shock you.
Yeah, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm looking at their prospects in the next round, and in the next round, teams that aren't too comfortable with the really, really raw physical aspect of the game. Let's say South Africa, for instance. Yeah, they will struggle against either team, Burkina Faso or Angola, because they are very, very physical, and their level of fitness is really, really high. Because I watched that enthralling game between Angola and Mauritania, and I was shocked that Angola still had that capacity to play out the game the way they did. And so, yeah, if you are, let's say, a Namibia or a South Africa, yeah, you should be looking out to avoid these two teams, because aside the fact that, yes, they can score in different ways, they are very, very physical. And, yeah, they will prove to be a tough challenge in the next round of games.
The teams making it through to the round of 16 in the AFCON. There are games to be played today, very interesting games. And let's have a look. Before we get into that, though, let's have a look at the rankings of the third place teams so far. So we do know that some countries have made it, others have not. So far, Guinea on 4 points, -1. 4 points -1. Mauritania also on 3 points, -1. Côte d'Ivoire on 3 points, -3. So the Ivorians are hanging on for dear life. You know, Namibia, -3. They've got 3 points as well. And then Zambia, they are currently out of the mix. So they will hope that, you know, they'll get something from the Morocco game. Yeah. If they draw that game, they get 3 points.
3 points.
We don't know what it will mean for them.
They will be ahead of Cote d'Ivoire.
Yeah, so per this list, we can say that Guinea and Mauritania are through.
Okay,
Yeah.
Guinea, Mauritania are through. What about, okay.
No,
Since there are 2 groups left, so 2 possible teams could still get into the... And neither of them can go past Mauritania or Guinea, since there are only 2 spots left, right?
Yeah.
2
spots, yeah.
2 groups left with 2 third-place teams. If, let's say, they go... those 2 teams perform better than any of these teams on the list, the teams that are at risk of dropping are Cote d'Ivoire and Namibia.
Yes.
So we can safely say Guinea and Mauritania.
But I wouldn't be too quick to say that because Namibia is playing against South Africa.
Namibia lost to South Africa.
Yeah, yes, they lost to South Africa.
So Namibia are taking on, need to get that. Namibia take on, who is in that group?
Namibia.
So South Africa take on Tunisia.
Yes.
And then
Namibia
Morocco.
taking on Mali.
Yes,
Namibia will take on Mali.
Yes.
Yes, so if Namibia, let's say, beat Mali, they will get 6 points.
Yes.
And if you have Zambia also, let's say, beating South Africa.
Zambia will take on Morocco.
Zambia will take on Morocco.
Yes.
Yeah, they also get
okay,
4 points. They also get 4 points.
Okay, my producer should put the rankings back on.
The rankings back
the third place, and keep it on as we try to analyze the possible things.
My point is that there are 2 other teams that can make it onto this list from the 2 remaining groups.
Yeah.
So, of those 2, let's say they get 6 points. They each get 6 points. They go to the top of the list.
Yes.
All
and
they
then
do
push
is
down,
bump the other 2 teams down.
So which means that assuming Zambia wins, Zambia are playing today.
Yes.
And then who else will be playing?
South Africa will be involved.
And then Namibia. So Namibia have 3 points.
Yes.
As things stand.
Yes.
South Africa have 3 points as well. Right?
Yes.
So the 2
they
countries...
lost to Namibia, then they beat...
They beat Namibia and then lost to Mali.
Yeah, lost to
But
Mali.
in the mix, Namibia are in the... Currently they are third.
They are third.
In that group.
Yes.
So assuming they beat Mali... They move on to 6 points. If that happens, Edwin, like you're saying, they will push down... Cote d'Ivoire.
Yeah.
Yes, they'll push down Cote d'Ivoire.
At this point, Cote d'Ivoire is the country
Okay, I get it now. So Namibia go above and push down Cote d'Ivoire.
Yes, they push down Cote d'Ivoire.
And in the next group, you have the final group. You have Morocco.
There's Morocco,
Tanzania.
There's Tanzania. There's DRC.
Congo. Yes.
Right? Morocco, Tanzania. There's DRC. And I'm trying to remember the last country, which is
South Africa.
No, South Africa is in Tunisia.
And Burkina Faso.
Burkina Faso. I think Burkina Faso played.
No.
Burkina Faso played yesterday.
They played yesterday.
Okay.
Yes.
And
anyway, so really, let's talk a bit more about Cote d'Ivoire's fate.
Okay, Cote d'Ivoire's fate.
Yes. How precarious is their situation?
Oh, very precarious.
Very precarious.
Because it's just like the Ghana situation. You need multiple, not just one situation to go your way. You need multiple situations to go your way.
Okay, so today's games, you've got Namibia and Mali at 5.
Yes.
South Africa and Tunisia also at 5.
That's 5.
Then Zambia and Morocco.
Zambia, Morocco.
Yes. And then Tanzania, DRC.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you have a look at the groups, as we speak, I need to get that table. If you have a look at the groups, I think they're having a look at the group. Of course, while the graphic is still on, whilst we have a look at the group, it will help us put things into proper perspective. Now, this is the situation we are in. Mali are on 4, Edwin.
Yeah.
Mali are on 4 points. South Africa on 3. Namibia on 3. Tunisia on 1.
Yes.
Now, Tunisia will be playing today.
Yeah. Against Namibia.
Okay, I'm trying. Yes.
No, they've already played Namibia.
Tunisia will play South Africa.
South Africa. Oh, why do you keep on messing this up?
Tunisia will play South Africa.
Yeah.
Now, if Tunisia win,
yes,
they move on to 4 points.
Yes. Just as South Africa. But South
Africa has 3 points as we speak.
Yes, 3 points.
If Tunisia wins, they move to 4 points. Now, those 4 points, depending on the scoreline, will put a lot of teams in possible danger.
Okay,
they'll put a lot of teams in possible danger. So because Guinea are on 4.
Yeah.
Now, should Tunisia win, depending on the
score
line,
yeah,
which means the number of goals, we'll wait to see. So automatically, they will pop up on this list.
Yes.
On this list.
Once they have 4 points, they will show up on this list.
And once they pop up on this list, that means Cote d'Ivoire will be dropping because Namibia will also be in action. Cote d'Ivoire, they are done with their games. So any team that pops up on this list, it means Cote d'Ivoire is the first team to suffer.
Yes, that's
true. Because Namibia will play their game. Cote d'Ivoire, they've played all their games. And so Cote d'Ivoire will be the first country to suffer any kind of consequence from today's game.
It's a bit complicated when you look at it because if Tunisia end up in a position where they are third, that means Namibia don't make this list at all. Either they qualify automatically or they are out of the competition.
That's the thing.
It's a bit complicated when you look at it this way. So we need to look at the matches when they are played.
Yeah, and the thing is, there are so many teams in that mix where they can either finish in second place and earn an automatic spot in the next round, or end up slipping and falling into this category where they have to jostle with other teams for a spot in the next phase.
So what we need to do is take a look at the likelihood of the teams getting wins in this game. How likely are Tunisia to beat South Africa? Based on what they've shown so far in this tournament against Namibia and in the second game against Mali, it's going to be very difficult for them to beat South Africa, especially with South Africa coming off the back of a huge win over Namibia. So them getting 3 points is a huge ask. Tunisia getting 3 points is a huge ask. In the other game, Namibia versus Mali, on paper, this looks like an easy win for Mali. It should be an easy win for Mali, but Namibia have shown that they can turn up when they want to. When they don't, they are really, really bad too. And then you go to the other group where Zambia are facing Morocco. Morocco need to turn it up. I've already said that I think they were very lucky that they got a good win in the game against Tanzania, because this would have been a very tough game for them to go in needing to get points from. It's shaping up to be a draw. I think Morocco would fancy a draw. A draw takes them through.
Oh, they are safe, practically.
Yes, but we do know that the consequence of that game could... How do I even say?
In terms of the pairing?
No, I'm talking about Cote d'Ivoire's future. Cote d'Ivoire's future in the competition is hanging on
like
that Zambia thing.
For them, they are in the same position as Ghana was. They don't just need one result to
they
go
need a number
their
of
way.
things.
They need multiple factors to go their way, and that's asking a bit too much. That's asking a bit too much.
So, for example, because the Ivorians are on 3 points.
3 points with a goal difference of...
They've got -3.
-3.
Yes, -3.
Difficult position.
They considered 4 against Equatorial Guinea. And going into that game, they had a goal difference of +1.
Yes, of
so
course.
yes,
when
now
you work the math,
-3.
it's -3. So effectively, for Cote d'Ivoire to go through, they need Zambia
to lose.
They need Zambia to lose their game.
Yes.
Right?
Namibia,
and then I think they will also need Namibia to lose because...
heavily too.
Heavily, because now that eats away Namibia's goal difference. And then it makes their goal difference worse off than the Ivorians. Because we do know that in the tie-breaking procedure, it will be points.
Goal difference.
Goal difference, and then goal scored.
Yes.
Then because if Namibia should lose heavily, then it means that their goal difference starts to go down. And then Cote d'Ivoire's goal difference remains as it is because they are not playing any more games. Very complicated.
Yes. And mind you, there are other teams who will also be jostling for the second automatic spots in their respective groups.
They do need Namibia to lose, but also they need Tunisia not to pick up a result against South Africa.
Because once that happens,
it means South Africa are on 3 points.
Yes.
Tunisia are on 4 points. Now they'll have to deal with South Africa as one of the best third place teams.
South Africa scored heavily
and they scored heavily against
Namibia.
They need
they have a good
Tunisia not to pick up a win.
Or
they need Namibia to lose.
Because South Africa are on +2 as
yes, +2 because they lost 3-1.
They lost 2-0.
2-0 to Mali.
And then they won
4-0.
You know, so that's quite... But anyway, you're just concluding. You're saying that the Ivorians need what exactly?
The Ivorians need Tunisia not to pick up a result against South Africa, and also need Namibia to lose heavily.
Yeah.
That is from the first group. In the second group, with Morocco on 4 points, DRC on 2 points, Zambia on 1 point, and then Tanzania without a point. Morocco are facing...
Tanzania has one
point.
Tanzania has one.
Morocco are facing Zambia. So they need Morocco to win.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the next
so that it takes out the Zambian part of
it takes out Zambia. And with...
The Namibia bit too.
No, it's just staying in that group.
Staying in the group. The other teams, Tanzania and DRC. I think they need DRC to win. So what they need is a DRC win, a Morocco win, South Africa win. And then in the final game, Mali win. So they need these 4 teams to pick up all 3
And when you
points.
look at it on paper, yes, it's doable. Because
doable.
Morocco
These are the
against
favorites in
Namibia.
What are the chances of all 4 things happening to send Cote d'Ivoire through? I mean, it's very possible.
I think it's possible. I wouldn't be shocked if you have Cote d'Ivoire progressing to the round of 16. And it will be a shock, but yeah, it will be great for the tournament because Cote d'Ivoire crashing out, they've been wonderful hosts at this tournament, and for them to crash out at this round of the competition, I think it will be disastrous for the competition because they are really that passionate. They are not a different group of fans. They are really into it, and once they crash out, it will really hurt them. And I see them staying away, the fans staying away from the games in large numbers. So it is doable. It is doable that you have Morocco beat Namibia. You have South Africa also win their game. And you have DRC also win their game. Yeah, it is very doable because at the end of the day, they are also jostling for a chance. They also have a chance to top the group.
Top their groups.
And avoid certain teams in the next round. So, it is possible. It is possible.
We'll see how it will play out. The Ivorians will be watching these 4 games with a lot of interest because any wrong result from one condemns the Ivorians completely. This is quite interesting. That's why I love tournament football. That's why I love the AFCON. This is Citi TV. This is the AFCON Daily Show. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, we have a lot more to discuss before we wrap it up. Show's proudly brought to us by Bet Power. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back. This is the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan. Our show is brought to us by Bet Power. If you want the biggest payouts, the best odds, and everything in between, get all of that on Bet Power. My guys are still here, Yahweh J. Minta and Edwin Kwakofi. Let's focus on today's games. We've spoken about them in light of the head-to-head and goal difference and who qualifies third place and all of that. But let's have a proper look at the games in question. Let's start off with the 5 p.m. games. The 5 p.m. games where in Group E, let's see if we can get the games in Group E. There you have it, Namibia versus Mali and South Africa versus Tunisia. These games are the 5 p.m. games. Mm-hmm. And so, I just can't get away from the fact that Cote d'Ivoire will be watching a lot of these games.
Oh, yes.
I wonder whether their players mentally are still tuned in. Because it can almost feel like you are out, but then you are back in.
Yeah, that should be a problem. I think their fans could make a difference, though, if they go into the stadium and cheer on the team that is supposed to win for them. That could make a difference as well. But Cote d'Ivoire put themselves in this position. We have to hope for wins from either side. And the teams, luckily for them, the teams that they need wins from are the favorites. You look at Mali coming up against Namibia. Mali have been very good so far in this tournament. Against South Africa, they played some wonderful football, especially in the second half. After they withstood a barrage of attacks from the South Africans and a few unfortunate misses from the South Africans. But when they came from the break, they seemed to have an identity about them, a way of play where the passing football was on point. But players understood their roles. Players were focused, so they were able to take advantage of rebound opportunities. They knew their strengths. They knew they were more powerful than the South Africans, and they made that work to their advantage.
Yeah. And guess what? That came after Ace Bissouma was substituted. That came after Ace Bissouma was substituted. When Lassana Coulibaly, who plays for Salernitana, in the talent area was introduced into the game. And that's how come their second game.
If Bissouma started off the bench.
Off the bench.
Yeah. Came on really late.
Yes. And that's a proper coach. No.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
so they need to make those advantages count. It's basically the same team they're coming up against. Namibia, they are very enterprising. They are very passionate, but they don't have the strength to cope with the Malians. And I'm sure Mali would use that to their advantage, just as they did in the South Africa game. What they need to do is play that way from the start of the match for as long as possible, kill off the game, and then they can relax. If they relax right from the start, they could be in for the shock of their lives.
Interesting. Would you plunk for the Namibian approach against Tunisia? They defended for large chunks of the game, took their chances. Of course, they grew in confidence and gradually. Can they do that against this Malian side? Can they hold on?
Can they hold on?
Or keep the Malians at bay? I think that's the question I should be asking.
No, because I look at how Mali conceded against Tunisia. It was a brilliantly worked team goal. I think that's one of the top 2 team goals I've seen in this tournament. It was brilliantly worked down the Malian right, where Hamari Traore is positioned. But Tunisia targeted that side of the pitch because they recognized that Hamari Traore is the outlet from the back line, and he's almost always positioned as a wing back. At the end of the day, it's no surprise. He started out as a midfielder, a right-sided midfielder. At the time he played for RB Leipzig. He now plays in Spain for Real Sociedad, and he operates down that right side as a fullback. But naturally, he is a central midfielder on the right side, and so he naturally tends to drift towards that end. And they exploited that space. They created an overload at that position, and they passed their way through the defense, the brilliant crossing, and they slotted the ball into the net. I don't see Namibia doing that. I don't see Namibia being able to do that. On a couple of occasions that they managed to do it, even in games against South Africa and in that win over Tunisia, they messed up all those chances because there were a handful of cutbacks that they really should have tucked away, and they kept on messing it up. I don't think they have the efficiency to be able to do it, and I don't think Mali would be so naive to be caught out on those kind of moves twice or 2 games in a row. So I don't see Namibia beating Mali.
All right, guys, let's talk about the other game in the group, South Africa versus Tunisia. The South Africans responded to their opening day loss by beating Namibia as expected by 4-0. Now they face another tough test. Edwin, the Tunisians want a win, so they will come at the South Africans. How should South Africa navigate this game?
Look, as you said, Tunisia need the win. They want the win, so they are going to come at the South Africans. What South Africa need to do is prepare for a barrage in the first 15 minutes. They are going to be up against it because the Tunisians know that that's the South Africans' weakness. They tend to start games a little slowly and then build up their momentum as the game goes on. So they need to be prepared for those few minutes where Tunisia come at them, start putting balls into the box, and start getting those chances. If they can keep the game level through that period, then they keep their composure and start passing the ball around. We know they have a lot of quality on the pitch that can keep the ball. They have very good attackers who are very pacey and can go beyond the Tunisian backline. That is what they need to do. Take advantage of those balls over the top or balls past the defenders where their attackers can run onto, and ensure that they take the best decisions in the game. I saw in the first game against Mali, especially after he missed the penalty. Persital kept taking, as we've called, the low percentage shots. There were moments where he could have just put the ball across for his teammates to tap in, but he wanted to make amends for making that miss. And you can't have that. You need your team to play as a team. You can't have individuals making their own decisions. Even in the huge win over Namibia, there were a couple of the goals where players took shots, they entered the back of the net, but there were opportunities to find teammates for better shots on goal.
Yeah, true. The fourth goal. The fourth goal against Namibia. It was a goalkeeping howler. because the ball was shot straight at the
Yes.
goalkeeper. But there were two teammates lined up on his right side who were coming into the box, and he should have just squared the ball over to him, but he decided to take a shot. He just squared under the goalkeeper's arms, and he ended up as a goal, but honestly, the goalkeeper should have dealt with it. There was a howler.
Even the third one, I think it was Zwane who scored the third goal. He placed the ball into the back of the net, but there were two South Africans waiting for him to cut it back for them to.
The one he scored from a bit of an angle.
He scored from a bit of an angle. So those are the decisions that I'm talking about. They might not have cost them in the previous game, but in a game like this against Tunisia, you need to take as many of the opportunities you get as possible and not waste them.
What about the Tunisians? Anyway, you mentioned that they would come at the South Africans. Is it what? I know they need, they need to find something, but a bit of patience would be needed.
And that's why I don't see them winning this game.
Because
they don't have patience.
They don't have patience.
They don't have patience. They don't have patience in the sense of they'll be very desperate to get the win. And it shows in their lack of patience in their reaction to refereeing decisions, especially in their second game. Very, very emotional, very temperamental. And so, that's what makes me believe that they are not winning this, because they'll be very desperate, especially after the first 20 minutes, 15 minutes, and where their crosses are not finding their target. The goalkeeper is having a barnstorming day, and the chances aren't just falling for them. They just get frustrated, commit more bodies, get positionally indisciplined. Then that's where you have the speed of the South Africans up front, taking advantage of the spaces they were leaving behind and hitting them on the counter-attack.
Almost feels like a CAF Champions League game.
Yes, more or less. And on top of that, for South Africa, one key factor that they need to get right would be how they pass out from the back. Look, you did it against Mali, and you got caught out and conceded that second goal. They need to get better at it. Against Namibia, they weren't put under a lot of pressure. They weren't tested in that department. Against Tunisia, they will be tested in that department and need to get better at it. If you are going to play your way out from the back, you need your passes to be very sharp and very on point.
Okay.
Other than that, the Tunisians are very wily, and they can spot a badly played pass or misplaced pass and take advantage of it, rob the possession of them. And once it's close to goal, their chances of getting a goal are definitely high. So aside that, I think South Africa stand a chance of winning this one.
All right, wait to see how Bafana will fare. Let's conclude quickly with the games from Group F. They are the final games for this evening, the 8 p.m. games. Tanzania and DR Congo and Zambia and Morocco. This and so the Tanzania DR Congo one looks like an extremely physical encounter, while Zambia will need to find something to beat the Moroccans, who, to be honest, have not fully convinced as of now. Edwin?
Yeah, you are completely right. The Moroccans were supposed to be like the Senegalese, coming into every single game with a swagger, because they know they are the best side on the continent. They know that they were the best, one of the best, 4 best sides at the World Cup, and they have quality to match that pedigree. But they seem to fall off anytime they take the lead. Anytime they're in a position where they're in a dominant position, they seem to just fall off and allow the opposition to come at them. I point to the first game against Tanzania where they took the lead. You expected them to just kick on from there, but they allowed Tanzania into the game, and it was really close up until the red card changed the face of the game and Morocco just took over. In the second game, it was basically the same thing against DRC. I thought DRC were very unlucky not to get the win in that game. They had a lot of chances that they probably should have taken. They didn't. But what they've done is they've shown that this Moroccan team can be breached. These two teams have shown that the Moroccan team can be breached. So I'm not ruling out a possible result for Zambia. That is if they are on their A game. In the game against Tanzania, they definitely were not on their A game. Had to rely on a very late equalizer in that game. They have to be right on it from the start of the game against Morocco if they want to pick up anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zambia versus Morocco. Wow. That should be very good. That should be a good one to watch. I think so far, I think the Moroccans have been culprits of playing down to the opposition, more or less.
Okay.
So they look at Namibia, they don't really turn up. They go through the emotions, they get the win. They look at DR Congo, they take an early lead, then they are just going through the paces, relax a little bit. See DR Congo waste a penalty kick, terrible penalty kick by Bokambu, and they just go into cruise control, if I can put it that way. Then they just concede a goal, then they try to pick up things from there. So for me, I think with Zambia coming in, knowing that they need a win to stand a chance of qualifying to the next stage, I think they will really be out for this one. And yeah, it will force Morocco to play better than they've played throughout the tournament up until this time. And yeah, that's how come I see Morocco getting past Zambia, because they have the quality, they have the experience, they have that cohesion, they have players who have virtually seen it all and are kind of used to handling these kind of situations. So it's just the mental aspect.
Okay.
Are you switched on?
Yeah.
Are you switched on enough? And looking at what Zambia is likely to bring to the table, yeah, it will get them to switch on and focus on the game very well and be able to execute. So that's why I see Morocco beating Zambia.
The other game from that group is Tanzania and DRC. From what we've seen, we can't really predict. But we've seen DRC. We could see that they are not shy of playing. They will attack. You wonder if they could get something against Tanzania.
Look,
they'll get many.
Yeah.
They'll get many.
Yeah.
They'll get lots of goals.
They start as favourites, and you look at the quality this side has. This is a lot of former Premier League players, former European stars who have come into this team and have turned it from an average team into one of the better packed sides in the continent. Bakambu, who
he used to play for Villarreal.
Yes,
he's now in China making money.
Who missed the penalty? He's still a top player. There's Gael
Kakuta,
who
Yuan
got his chance in Europe, but he's still a quality player.
Yuan Wissa.
Meshak Elia, who plays in Switzerland.
Yeah, you look at Chancel Mbemba, their captain.
Ex-Newcastle, with Anderlecht.
Yeah, he's now with
Portugal.
He moved from Portugal to Olympique Marseille. And heading into this season, he was named as the best African player in the French league. And that's a big deal because the French league has a lot of African players.
Filled to the brim
with African.
Yeah, and so to have him being named as the best African player in the league, it is something. And he's shown his quality so far in the tournament. And yeah, DR Congo, they're a weird team. They're a very weird team. They don't scare you.
In terms of the names, but
they don't scare you even with their play. It looks a bit disjointed, a bit messy all over the place.
But they are dangerous.
But they are dangerous. They are very physical too, and they can get it done. They know how to get it done even in the midst of chaos, and not too straightforward kind of build-up play. So for me, they are a very strange team. They are a very.
So we expect them to go past Tanzania.
Yes, I expect them to go past.
So again, I don't know why my mind cannot go away from this implication of. I find it so funny. So it means that if any of these results go bad, Côte d'Ivoire out. Is that what we are saying?
Yes, that's what we're saying.
So we need Zambia to lose. Okay, so they need Morocco to win. They need
DR Congo to win.
They need DR Congo to win.
Yes.
They need Mali to beat Namibia
heavily. And
they need South Africa to win.
So they need these four results all
South
at the same time.
Yes.
All at the same time.
Yes, because one is dropping, one will be climbing, one will be rising, and so if there isn't a coordination between the two at the same time, then boom, then Côte d'Ivoire is heading home.
All right, we'll see how it plays out for these four countries or in these four games with Côte d'Ivoire watching on. with a lot of bated breath. We'll be back tomorrow to run the rule over everything that's happened and discuss the group stage and all the things in between. My name is Nathan Kwa. This has been another exciting episode of the AFCON Daily Show on Citi TV. The show was brought to you by Bet Power. My guests, Yahweh J. Minta and Edwin Kwakofi. Many thanks to you out there for watching. We'll catch you later with another episode. Enjoy the rest of the day and keep watching Citi TV.